Hey folks, and welcome back to another video. Now, MissChanger v1.1 had been in alpha for a few months now, and it's about time I closed that alpha. For this video, I want to recap on the lesson learned through the various tests that I have done and any other update to and around the project. So let's just get right into it. The first exciting update I have for you guys is that MissChanger has now been confirmed to work on a Voron with a 300mm bed. All the effort for the validation on that front was contributed to the project by Psychosis 5150 on the Voron Discord. And well, thanks mate. And I have documented all of his findings and implement the changes that I requested to the CAD. Beside that, I have also ran reliability tests on the tool changing mechanism, and by making a macro that would cycle through all these tool heads at increasing Z height, this machine had now been validated to complete at least 4,196 tool changes continuously and without fail. Thus, it can be concluded that this tool changing system is good and it's reliable, and it will be kept the same for the next version of MissChanger. Now that the reliability of the system has been proven, I want to tackle the speed concern of MissChanger. Part of the result for this test had already been shown in the previous video on this channel, where I show you guys how this machine was able to print a 20-minute benches. And in addition to that, I had also published the input shaping performance of this setup on GitHub for those who wish to find it. And the TLDR is, yes, MissChanger can absolutely go fast, well, faster than the material science ability to actually keep up with that print speed. And honestly, by the end of that benchy test in the previous video, I don't think I'm going to be bothered to respond to any comment about speed ever again. It's just not what I'm into. Anyway, let's talk about something more interesting, multi-material. It's had been quite a journey on this one. The first thing that I play with is actually not multi-material, but multicolor, just to get things started, and that worked flawlessly, as you can see in this little picture here. So much so that there is not much for me to talk about on that front, honestly. The next thing that I try to do is actually to use PLA as support interface for PETG parts, and the wording there is actually very important. As you can see in this picture here, the PLA bit is just that little bit at the topmost layer of the support column. And the reason for this, especially if you're starting out, is that PETG for use in a tool changer need to be a lot drier than it is normally. This is because when the tool head is stuck, as you're seeing right now, the bit of material near the tip of the nozzle will be cooked for a relatively long period of time, so long that the moisture in that filament will boil and form bubble in the line. The trouble that's gonna cause is, well, first and foremost, oozing. As soon as the PETG nozzle leaves the dock, it will immediately start pushing out a centimeter or two of the material, due to all that bubble in the hot end just pushing things out. The second and more serious problem that you're gonna have to deal with is to burst those bubbles out of the nozzle before you can start printing. Well, you can do this in several ways. You can extrude a few millimeter more before starting printing the wipe tower, or you can set the PETG nozzle, that's this one here, as the only nozzle for the shell of the wipe tower, as you may or may not see right now on this particular print. That's the black filament right there. Both of these options is available in Bruiser Slasher. However, both options will have some effect on the reliability of the wipe tower or the quality of the part that came out of it. If you extrude too much at the beginning of the wipe tower, you get a block that literally at the corner of the wipe tower where your tip gonna just crash into over and over again until the wipe tower fell off. On the other hand, if you don't do that, those bubbles will just show up as cavities on either on your print or on the wipe tower, compromising their integrity or quality. And well, the only reliable way that I found thus far to deal with this issue is literally just to invest in a filament dryer and not print with wet filament in the first place. Anyway, after I've done with POA and PETG printing, I then set my eye on ABS printing, especially after I saw Jantech's video on the topic. And to even begin to test that, I have to add this thing here to the system, which is the Nevermore Stealthmax, which I modified to have a little trapdoor mechanism to direct the filtered air either out or back into the system. This allowed me to reduce the chamber temperature to around 30 degrees Celsius even when the door is closed, thus allowed ABS, PETG, and POA to be printed all in the same print. Despite the benefit in chamber temperature management and filtration improvement, there's a few difficulties I have with the making of the Nevermore Stealthmax, which led me to include it to the MissChanger project only as an optional thing that you can do. The first reason is that the scope of the Nevermore Stealthmax is much broader than the basic version that I'm having here. The smart version of Nevermore Stealthmax contain things like sensors and automations, which are all really cool. However, it is its own project. The second reason is the need for this custom top panel here, with the holes for the intake and exhaust of the Nevermore Stealthmax cut into it. Now, as I mentioned in the video on the Nevermore Stealthmax itself, you can in fact make this panel yourself at home using a hole saw. With that said, for those who are not willing to risk breaking their existing top panel, you can use a service like BCB Way to have them cut out for you, and they are the source that I will be linking in the BOM. They are definitely not the cheapest source that you can get your panel made, but they are probably the most reliable for you to get your panel from and for me to recommend for people around the world. Finally, the last reason why I'm still a bit skeptical of recommending the Nevermore Stealthmax after I have built it is the fact that this is supposed to be a safety system to filter out all of the ultrafine particle and vox out of the print space. However, this is also a DIY solution, and that is to say you are your own guarantor on whether this thing is work or not. And over the course of using this, I have to make several modifications to this exact unit just to get it to work correctly for me. And all of the modifications I have done were to prevent the leakage of fume over or under this carbon wheel here. And as you can see, first I had added a layer of tape on the lid there to cover up the ring that between the carbon wheel and the filter hub. Then I have also added some tape underneath the lid to shield up the hole where the handlebar came in. And on the underside, what I have done is I made this ring of foam out of 1mm tape that I have left over from making the top panel. And only after all that modification was this Nevermore Stealthmax fit for purpose to filter out all the vox and ultrafine particle from the machine and reduce them to a safe level in my room. There are reasons why people who print with ABS nowadays prefer to do it in a hot chamber, because before all else, this material is very prone to warping. An ABS part that is printed in open air can rip itself apart even if the first layer managed to stay on the bed. Now, I am aware that this does not happen to every ABS part out there. It depends a lot on the geometry and the size of what you are printing, as well as the brand of filament that you are using as well. But what I can say for sure though is, one, your layer adhesion will not be as good as an ABS part printed in a hot chamber, and two, you cannot trust the white tower made out of ABS in a cold chamber. Together, these two problems make the idea of combining ABS with POA or PETG towards the impractical corner for me. Although that is not to say that it is impossible, it's just to say that it is not very reliable and it might not even be worth it. Nevertheless, it is not the end of the story for functional multi-material printing, because there are many ABS alternatives out there for cold chamber printing, and there are materials out there that also work in a hot chamber that might complement or be complemented by being printed alongside ABS. The sky is still the limit. Well, if you ignore the size of your wallet, that is. The good news though with adding the Nevermore Stealthmax to the system is that this chamber can now reach 70 degrees Celsius. So yeah, I am well equipped to handle any filament that I can manage to get my hand on in the future. Now, let's just talk about v1.2. What is next for MissChanger? Well, not much. There's only one last thing that I want to add to the system before pushing it to release, and that is this thing here, the LDO Nighthawk SB USB 2-head board. That's a long ass name. I want to provide at least one USB 2-head board as an option for the first release of MissChanger. The reason why I and many folks who designed the tool changer for Vorons choose to use CAN bus is that it is the easiest network to set up, well, in terms of hardware that is, without anything like a USB hub to cause any weird compatibility or connection issue to the system. However, all that complexity of wiring is not gone, it just shifted to the software side of things. And I can absolutely sympathize with the people who find it easier to swap out a problematic USB hub, or rather than scanning through the terminal config and tweaking numbers in the softwares. Then as for why I'm choosing this board specifically, well, they are the first company to agree to send me a board for this project. Anyway, after I am back from Smurf, I'll be designing the system as if I have 4 of these to contend with, and figuring out how to mount them and deal with the wiring and such. And then when that's done, I'll make a video about it. Subscribe if you want to see that. And although that video is not going to be a review per se, as I'm just going to outline the part that is relevant to MissChanger, I still want to make it clear that I have not and will not accept any compensation from LDO for the making of that video, and they will not get to see the video before you do. Anyway, alright. And yeah, that's all I have for this video. If you like what I'm doing, click like and subscribe. If you want to build your own MissChanger, well, the link to the GitHub repository is down below in the description. There, you will also find the link to support me directly if you be so kind. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.